once I realized that talking ain't going to work, I'm the complete opposite. And I think that was taught by my father.
Wow.
That's how I was taught, And
have you seen him fight? Did you ever see him fight?
So my father, I have a saying, which is my most famous saying that I say. I said at the end of the final video, my unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. And for the people watching, it means unmatched perspicacity, your ability to perceive and understand the world, pay attention to things and take in all of the different variables, pay attention, because a lot of people don't. Coupled with indefatigability, the ability to never become tired, makes you a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. So if you pay attention to everything and you analyze the chessboard correctly and you never give up, it doesn't matter if you're trying to climb Mount Everest. It doesn't matter if you're trying to escape a social media ban. You're a dangerous guy. He doesn't quit and he pays a bunch of attention. That's a guy you don't want as an enemy. And my father said that. I heard my father say that. The story behind it is we were in Detroit. My father was a world level chess player. He was an amazing man, but he was to a degree a flawed man, let's say. He liked to gamble. My father's attitude towards life is something I've also adopted because I've even said it myself. I'd either want to be filthy rich or flat broke. I feel like slavery's in between. And I said to my brother when we had no money, let's just move to Thailand. Let's just move to Thailand and fight and just live on $50 a day and just run around on the beach and have our time back. Like, what are we slaving away a job to pay the rent and then we're broke? I'd rather I either have to feel like I'm going to make it or just quit capitalism.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in between. And my father was the same. So he won a chess tournament, a low level one. He made like $3,000 or something. And he said, listen, son, the rent's paid and I either want 100 grand or nothing. It's just who I am. So we went to the casino, lost all the money. Casino's a bad place to go and try and get rich, but that's my dad. Lost all the money. So then we were in Detroit and we were hustling in a park. My dad was a chess park hustler. He'd go into the parks and he'd sit down and say, you all get 10 minutes. I get a minute on the clock. And he'd play 10 games simultaneously while they all had 10 minutes each. And he'd have a minute. And he'd sit there and just smoke them all for money, right? And take all the money in. So, and we'll talk about world level chess players because I'll make it clear. I do not have the intellect to be a world level chess player. Even though I have the genetics, it's something you're born with. It's kind of like being a human calculator. It's something in your brain. You can't train. It's like learning to sing. You can learn to sing, but you're not going to be Mariah Carey unless you're born with it, right? The way his mind worked was a different level of intellect. And I don't possess it. And that's a blessing and a curse because I'm better socially than he was. He was not very sociable as a person. And in these high-level chess tournaments, a lot of them are not very sociable people. And we can talk about that at length. But so he made some money. And we went to a gas station in Detroit. And I remember this vividly. I was about 8 or 9 years old. I went to the back, to the coolers. I opened to get a drink and I heard all this noise. And when I turned around, my dad was fighting 3 men. And I don't know how the fight started. I don't know where it came from. He had one of them up against the door and he had him up like this and he was biting his face. And the other 2 are punching my dad in the back of the head. And I'm a kid. And I just stood there like, the fuck? And the Korean guy behind is shouting, stop, 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 stop. And I'm standing there. And I didn't know what to do. So I kind of went to walk over. And although my dad was getting punched, and although he was biting this guy, I remember him turning to me and saying, stay there. And went back to biting the guy. I don't know the fuck. To this day, I don't know how the fight started. Korean guy came around the back, kind of got in the middle. The guys went out. They threatened to kill him. We're going to fucking kill you like gangbangers. We're going to fucking kill you. We're gonna fucking kill you. My dad had blood all over his face, some from the guy, some from him. His eye was black. His eye socket got fractured. His eye was closed. His bumps all back the head. So we stood there and the Korean guy started panicking, saying, my store damaged, my store. Wait, police, wait, police, wait, police. And I think my dad was a bit disorientated. He never went down, but I could tell he was a bit dizzy. So my dad stood there and he stood like this, like in like military position, stood in the corner of the place. And we waited for the police officer to come. And the police officer came and start doing reports, asked what happened, start talking to reports, etc. And the police officer said to my dad, so you fought these 3 guys. He goes, okay, well, what's your job? My dad said, I'm a chess player. And the police officer said, well, maybe you should have been something else. And my dad said, my unmatched perspicacity, coupled with sheer indefatigability, makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. I remember him saying that was his answer to the police officer. The police officer was like,
yeah, how do you spell perspicacity?
Okay, bro.
Unfatigability.
He wrote it down.
Yeah.
And that was a saying that my dad started using then on after, and I adopted. So that's the only time I ever saw him fight. And he didn't win. I mean, the guy got fucked up, but he didn't go down. I mean, he dealt with all 3 of them, and they left in the end. So that's the only time I ever.
Did you see rage in him? Like, did you know he had the rage or no? His personality was a different personality.
No, my father certainly not really had rage. My father was a super unique individual. It's hard for me to even explain. You have to imagine a big black guy, big physically dominating, dangerous guy who's a chess genius, but also he was extremely condescending, but I understand why he was the way he was. When you're wired like he is, everyone is a moron. And when I say he had photographic memory, everyone goes, oh, I know someone with photographic memory. No, you don't. I'm talking about, what's your phone number? Cool. 6 years later, gets on a payphone. Like, it's like, how the fuck? Just everything you told him, he remembered. Everything. And that becomes a detriment, because if you remember and you pay attention, if you remember every number plate of every car around you, then you're in a car with the guy and he's like, last Thursday, that car was beside us. Dad, was it? I don't know. Of course you don't know. You don't know, but I do know. That car was beside us next Thursday. Do you believe in coincidences? Like, well, maybe it is a coincidence. He goes, maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. And then you can't argue with him because you don't know if he's like, well, you're not smart enough to remember all the number plates, son. So you just leave this to fucking me. And then you turn off the road because this dude might be following you. And I'm not saying he was paranoid. I'm saying the world he lived in was a scary world, if that makes sense, because he remembered everything all the time.